How does it feel to make lightning-fast decisions amidst the race car engines and the cheering fans? This isn't a story plot, this happened in real life. Well, meet Kaji Sato, who knows all about it. In the middle of December, at a racetrack in Thailand, Sato was asked if he would become the boss of Toyota, the world's largest car company where he's been working since 1992. Standing beside him was his mentor, Akio Toyoda, who was getting ready to pass on the leadership after being in charge for 13 years. The quiet and glasses-wearing Sato, who is 53 years old, starts his new job on April 1st. He'll need to lead Toyota through a big change, maybe the biggest since the company started making cars in 1937. As traditional cars with gas engines are replaced by new energy vehicles, Toyota has to make sure it stays the top-selling car company in the world while adapting to these changes. Sato will be closely watched for his decisions, especially about electric cars. People are criticizing Toyota for being slow to make a popular electric car. They had issues with their first one, the BZ4X SUV, which had to be recalled last year. Adding to the pressure, Tesla is already selling more cars than Toyota in some parts of California. More and more countries in Europe and the US are planning to ban cars with gas engines, including hybrids, in the next 10 to 15 years. This shift to electric cars and advanced software for self-driving cars is also giving new car companies a chance to compete. Experts say Toyota needs to work hard on both fronts to stay competitive. Sanshiro Fukao, a senior researcher at the Itochu Research Institute, says the most important thing for Toyota is to work faster on making electric cars than ever before. For 3 years in a row, Toyota has been the top-selling car company worldwide. Last year, they sold almost 10.5 million vehicles, surpassing Volkswagen Group, the second best seller from Germany, who sold 8.3 million vehicles. Toyota is doing well in big markets like Japan, the US, and Europe. They're doing better than their competitors despite challenges like the recent coronavirus pandemic, shortages of computer chips, and high costs for materials. Toyota has big plans for electric cars. They want to sell 3.5 million of them by 2030, which would be about 30% of what they sell each year right now. In the year ending March 2022, only 0.2% or 16,000 of Toyota's 9.5 million vehicles sold were electric cars. Most of their cars, about 72%, were traditional ones with gas or diesel engines. Hybrid cars, which use both engines and batteries, made up 27% of their sales. Fukao explained that it's hard for Toyota to switch from engines because their whole business is built around them. He also said that Toyota's history of success with hybrid cars, like the Prius, is making it tough for them to switch to electric cars. Michael Dunn, the CEO of ZozoGo, a company that focuses on electric cars, said, "Toyota does a lot of things really well, so it's tough for them to change. But what customers want is changing faster than anyone could have expected. If Toyota doesn't move quickly and stay ahead of these changes, they might find themselves left behind, thinking everything's fine while customers have already moved on." At a news conference in January where he announced his resignation, current chief Toyota said, "Toyota knows the car industry is going through a big change, like a revolution that only happens once in 100 years. He said, stepping down is part of Toyota's plan to completely transform into a company that's more about mobility than just making cars. Sato knows what's happening in the industry too. He said, "We'll speed up making electric cars, but we'll do it differently than before." He talked about this at a news conference in February, where he also talked about the new strategies and members of the management team, including changes in executive vice presidents. While other car companies have quickly put their focus on electric cars, Toyota has been cautious about them. They say electric cars are just one part of making the car industry more environmentally friendly. Toyota believes in a strategy that uses different ways to reach carbon neutrality, not just relying on electric cars. But some car industry experts are getting frustrated because they think Toyota is taking too long to make decisions. Takaki Nakanishi, CEO of Nakanishi Research Institute, said Toyota's plan to explore all options isn't working out because electric cars, the main option, aren't doing well. He said the big changes in personnel show that Toyota is serious about making a fresh start. Some people think that Koji Sato, the CEO of Toyota, hasn't done a great job at getting the company ready for electric cars or making its supply chain more environmentally friendly. For instance, Toyota has invested in hydrogen and hybrid cars, but hasn't focused enough on electric cars. Before, Toyota's old CEO Akio Toyoda said electric cars were too complex and not what customers wanted. As Koji Sato, the CEO of Toyota Motor Corp, gets close to finishing his first year in charge, a group of 54 organizations from over 35 countries are asking the company to speed up making cars that don't use fossil fuels and stop any harm to people's rights and the environment in its supply chain. In December 2023, Public Citizen complained to the US Federal Trade Commission about Toyota's electrified diversified ads, saying they trick people. In other countries like Australia, Ireland, Germany, Switzerland, Netherlands, Austria, Cyprus, Belgium, France, and Spain, over 2,000 people have also complained about the same thing. East Peterson Trujillo, a senior campaigner at Public Citizen's climate program, said Toyota is not ready to switch to cars that don't use fossil fuels or have safer supply chains. He said the new CEO could have promised a future with no emissions, but instead, Koji Sato is doing the same as the old chairman Akio Toyoda, who only cared about short-term goals for the company. Chris Alford, who works in auto supply chains with the Sunrise Project, said Toyota is one of the worst companies in the car industry when it comes to making clean and fair supply chains without using fossil fuels or hurting people's rights. It was also the only company that didn't improve its score for having supply chains free from fossil fuels and good for the environment. Toyota needs to do better if it wants its supply chains to be ready for the future. Eric Ismaili, who is the executive director of Jobs with Justice, said that shifting to electric cars is a chance to support both workers and the environment. She mentioned that companies like Toyota are making a lot of money but not paying their workers enough. She believes that in a future with cleaner energy, workers should have good jobs. Andrea Marpellaro Colomina, who directs the Sustainable Communities program at Green Latinos, said Toyota should focus on making cars that don't use fossil fuels. These cars would help reduce pollution that harms communities from making the materials to driving the cars. Sylvia Rojas, who is the executive director of ASOMove Costa Rica, said they're working to bring more electric cars to Costa Rica and Latin America quickly. She thinks it's important for companies like Toyota to offer their best electric cars to their region as soon as they can. Doris Holler Bruckner, who leads the Federal Association Sustainable Mobility in Austria, said the transport sector creates a lot of CO2, which harms the environment. She thinks Toyota is really slow at this and needs to act quickly instead of delaying. She believes this switch will benefit everyone. Andrew Sims, who works at the New Weather Institute and scientist for global responsibility, said if Toyota's actions were compared to a person driving a car, they would be driving dangerously. He thinks Toyota has been lying to customers, stopping efforts to fight climate change by making cleaner cars and sticking to fuels that pollute. He mentioned that even the UK's advertising regulator found Toyota guilty of not caring about the environment in its ads. He said delaying the switch to cleaner transport means more people will get sick from air pollution and suffer because of climate change. He thinks Toyota is heading in the wrong direction and needs to change course now to fight climate change. Krista Shinham, a researcher at Climate Rights International, said switching to electric cars is a big step in moving away from fossil fuels. But she thinks it's important for car companies like Toyota to make sure their supply chains for electric cars don't harm people's rights or the environment. However, Sato also made a big promise that Toyota will start selling millions of electric cars in just a few years. He also mentioned that Toyota will reveal a new plan, which might include changes in leadership at Daihatsu or in the whole group. So, what are your thoughts about Kaji Sato? Do let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Until next time, see you all.